The Site Plan Designer, those using the EARTHSCAPES 1.0 application, the new application, all of the Corel functions, Corel Photo Paint, as well as Corel Designer, can be found within the EARTHSCAPES application. You launch EARTHSCAPES from your desktop. When EARTHSCAPES opens up, we have a button for Corel. We have Corel Designer as well as Corel Photo Paint listed within this drop-down menu. My Designer 12 users, you will have a Corel Photo Paint icon on your desktop as well as a Corel Designer icon on your desktop. For this session, since we are working with Site Plan Designer Basics, I want you to open or utilize the Corel Designer application. When Corel Designer opens, again, this is going to be the application that we create our overhead site plan designs. And on our screen right now shares with you kind of an overview of what can be accomplished and how the designs can look within the EARTHSCAPES application. You do have access to over 400 plant symbols. You can create designs that are both in black and white as well as full color. This example on our screen illustrates the use of callouts as well as a plant legend. And as we zoom in, you'll see that there are some additional enhancements to this design. For example, fills that have been used that use more of a fountain fill style or rendered look, one color fading to another, as well as transparencies. And I can show you real quick, with this plant symbol, a transparency has been added so we can see the understory that is designed and presented within this particular design. So this just shows you the capabilities of what the EARTHSCAPES program can do for you. But today's session is on Site Plan Designer Basics. So how do we get started? How do we get started just choosing a page and drawing a line? And that's a great question. To get started, I want you to go to the File menu on the top menu bar, and this runs across from left to right, horizontally, across the top of your screen. And we're going to go to File, and we'll select New from Template. And this is true for both Designer 12 users as well as X4 users. New from Template does give you the option to choose your scale that you'd like to work with for this particular project. Designer 12, you can choose your architectural or engineering scale right within this window. X4 users, click on Browse, and you'll see that we have our templates available. If I click on Templates, it does provide to me both architectural as well as engineering. So I can select architectural with a double click. If I want to change back to engineering, let's just take a look at this navigation that's available in our top window. Click on Templates once again, and we can go back to engineering. So if I select Template, I'll choose architectural, and I'll choose a 4th scale. So 1/4 of an inch equals a foot. Select the scale that I'd like to use, and we'll click on Open. Once you have a designer page open, let's just talk about this designer page in the template. When you select New from Template within Corel Designer, using the EARTHSCAPES program, it will open up a template that's based on a 24 by 36 sheet size. It is a large format. Don't worry, you can still create your designs. If you don't have a plotter printer in-house, you can save these designs as a PDF file and be able to email them to a print shop and have them professionally print on a large format printer for you. We also have the capabilities of changing our page size, and we'll try to run through some of those steps at the end of today's session. With our new page open, our 24 by 36 page open, before you really begin any of the design steps, I do want to introduce an important function, and that's saving your designs. Saving them just in case that you had a power failure, maybe the application crashed, if it did have that power failure, or if you import a very large file, just so that we do save our work, save our design for future use. Let's go up to File, Save As, and you'll choose a folder location to save your file to. And most importantly is the Save As type. We want to save our site plan designs as a Corel Designer file, and that's a .des. D as in dog, E as in Edward, S as in Sam. So when you create your overhead site plan designs, you will save them as a .des file type. And then you'll just simply click on Save to save that file. I'll just be canceling out of this window at this time. So with our file now saved, we can begin working on this particular file, working on this particular page. In the lower right-hand corner of our page is our title block. So let's use some tools that are available on the left vertical toolbar to really see and customize this title block as needed. On the left-hand side of your window, locate the magnifying glass. This is your zoom tool. With a left click on the magnifying glass, when I take my cursor over to my page, the magnifying glass icon does appear. There's a couple different ways to utilize the magnifying glass to zoom in on an area. We can simply take our magnifying glass, left click once on top of the title block area, and you'll see that it zooms into the title block area. If I left click once again on top of the title block, it's going to continue to zoom in on that particular area. Let's say we accidentally hit the roller bar on our mouse and we zoomed in way too much. In order to get back out to a full screen, the easiest way is to use the zoom level box at the top menu on your horizontal toolbar. Click on that drop-down arrow and select to page. It's going to bring us back out to a full screen. Another way to use the magnifying glass is if I bring my cursor with my magnifying glass selected, my zoom tool selected, left click on the outside area of the title block, and I'm going to hold down my left mouse button, and you'll see that a rectangle or a square appears. I'm going to open up that rectangle, so left click and drag open a rectangle so it encompasses my title block, and you'll see when I release, it zooms into the area that I selected. Now that we have our title block in view at a zoomed in level, let's change our magnifying glass. Let's cancel out of this function by selecting the Object Pick tool. The Object Pick tool is the arrow or the selector, the pointer tool. The Object Pick tool cancels out of any previous function that you currently or previously had selected. So it's really your neutral. It's a great habit to get used to, is always going back to the Object Pick tool to cancel out of the last function. To make changes to the title block with your Object Pick tool selected, we're going to go back over to the title block, left click on company name. The selector boxes open up around this text area. To change the text, the easiest way is to use the horizontal toolbar, and there is a button for Edit Text that appears on the horizontal toolbar. We click on Edit Text, and it brings up an Edit Text window where we can backspace. We can change the font. We can also change the size and the style of our text that's being added. And we can simply type in the company name, click OK, and you'll see that it has been added to our title block. Our Object Pick tool is still selected as our cursor, so let's click on company address, and you'll notice that the selector boxes now appear around company address. With this area selected, go back into the Edit Text window and enter in the company address information. So we can simply begin just typing in, and I'll just type in quickly here. If your address falls within 2 lines, click OK, you'll see what happens on our screen. The text box has an arrow, a center arrow. If we just pull down, you'll notice that it just expands that text box for us to the vertical. It just expands that text box so more text is displayed. So all I had to do is just click on the center vertical sizing node to really display the entire address or the text that was included in that box. To add additional text to our title block area, we do offer a text tool. So on your left vertical toolbar, you'll locate the text tool, which looks like the letter A. And when we click on the letter A, notice that your horizontal toolbar does change up at the top of the screen, changing the font as well as the size. And we can take our cursor anywhere within the title block area, left click, a cursor now appears for me, and I can say, I can begin typing in the name of this design. We'll just call it Design 1. Once you have entered in text, you'll see that you have selector boxes that appear around that newly entered item or word. To move this word to a location, if we just want to move it up to title, click on your object pick tool, and this word has been added to your design, and it appears as an object, so we can resize it. If you wanted to size it up using the corner resizing node, we can size it down or size it up accordingly. You can add additional text just by clicking on the text tool, selecting an area on your title block, waiting for the cursor to appear, entering in the text as needed. If you need to delete any of the text, select the Object Pick tool, click on the text that you'd like to delete with the object boxes around the text that you'd like to delete. Simply click on Delete on your keyboard. Let's go back out to a full screen, and that's using our zoom level box on the top menu bar. We'll select the drop-down arrow and select to page. This brings us back out to a full screen. When we're out to a full screen and no objects are selected, so right now I have my page border that's selected. Let's just click on the outside of that page border. It guarantees that no objects are selected. This is when we can change our unit. Very important to change your units before you get started on a design. That way when we draw our lines, the lines are being read out in units of measure that equal feet rather than inches. Let's click on the drop-down arrow and we'll select feet. We also have meters available if anybody is needing meters for readout measurement. So on our design, we have no objects selected, nothing is selected, no page borders, nothing within the title block is selected. We can verify that our units of measure are feet. And now it's time for us to draw some lines and work with our line tools. Again, on the left vertical toolbar, you will locate your lines. X4 users, all of your lines are within one button. We left-click on the curve tool, and this will expand our menu option for the 2-point line, the multi-point line, as well as some curve line options. Designer 12 users, you have a separate 2-point line function and a multi-point line function. So you have two different buttons for your lines. We'll be working with our 2-point line first. Left-click on the 2-point line. You'll notice that your cursor does change. And when we left-click with our mouse, left-click and hold, and we'll drag our cursor to the right-hand side of our screen, it's drawing a line. It's creating a line for us. Down at the bottom of my Corel Designer window, you'll see a segment length that's provided to you. So as we draw, this length appears for us at the bottom of the screen. To control this line or constrain this line as a straight edge, I can simply hold the Shift key on my keyboard as I left-click and drag, Or some computers, it may be the control button on your keyboard. It just depends upon your Windows configuration. So left click and drag your line. Hold the Shift key as you're drawing. It will constrain your line as a straight edge. If Shift does not work, try the Control key. So either Control or the Shift key to draw a straight line. To enter in an exact distance for this line, we can use the Property Manager on the right-hand side of our screen. And the Property Manager does allow for us to change fill color, which is the bucket, the outline color, which is all of your line colors, your line thickness, as well as the pattern for these lines. And then the very last tab within Property Manager, this is where you can manually change in the length of the line. You'll see the double-sided arrow that appears within the middle of this tab, and we can backspace the distance that appears so that we manually drew. And let's just type in 50, press enter, and it automatically adjusts the length of the line for us. To draw your curved lines, let's go back over to the left vertical toolbar, and we'll go back to our line tool, and let's select the B-spline tool. The B-spline tool is a great line function when you're creating your curve bed. Work with the B-spline tool and really get a good feeling of how it creates those curves. With the B-spline tool selected, I left-click once on my page, release my left mouse button, and let me just bring my cursor over towards the right of my screen, and we'll left-click once again. Now we're going to hold the cursor down and left-click once again. Each time you left-click and you change a direction, it's placing a control point. So let's just try that again. We're working with the B-spline tool. So we have B-spline selected from our list of line tools. And B-spline is available within both Designer 12 as well as X4. Select B-spline, left-click on your page, release your left mouse button, move in a direction. We can go up, we can go left or right. Move in a direction, left-click once again, and release your left mouse button. Move in another direction, and you'll see that your line begins to bend and stretch. If we come back close to our starting point, you'll notice that your shape automatically closes. So we can just simply left-click to end that shape, and we have a nice little peanut shape that we could use for a bed area. To make changes to this shape, let's go back to our Object Pick tool, and we can double-click on this shape to produce control points that allow for us to bend, stretch, further manipulate this object as needed. So you do have quite a bit of freedom and control and the ability to really reshape this object as necessary when you use the B-spline tool. Let's go ahead and click on our Object Pick tool once again. Our shape is selected. With any shapes, with any words, with any objects that are selected on your Site Plan Designer window, we can press delete, and that of course will delete that item from view. You always do have your undo button, so we can undo or reverse the last operation. So don't feel as though you will make a mistake when you're creating or working or practicing within the Site Plan Designer, within the EARTHSCAPES software in general. You always have that undo button to go back to. I'm just going to take a look to see if we have any questions with our audience. And additional functions to get started with the EARTHSCAPES program. Let's just take a look at these line tools. Working with the line tool, the two-point line, of course, would be used when you're drawing your straight lines. Your multi-point lines will also be used when drawing your straight lines, but this is a function, the multi-point line tool, most often is used when we're tracing. Maybe when we're tracing the foundation lines, tracing property lines from an imported site plan. any areas that you are going to pretty much connect the dots or create a shape, I would suggest using the multi-point line tool. If it is simply just a straight line, use the two-point line tool. You're not going to ruin a design or create a problem if you use one or the other. Again, try out these tools. Practice these tools. Be comfortable with them. See how they work. See how they are to create the shapes, and get a good feeling of how these different line tools can create those shapes that you will be using for your final design. The freehand curve or the freehand line does give you the freedom to really draw your lines like you would with pen and paper. You left click on your page and you can drag that line and pretty much create any shape. Once I release my left mouse button, it automatically smooths that line for me. Again, with this line selected, if I don't want it, we can press delete. Additional tools that are available within the EARTHSCAPES program, and just some basics for you to work with. We do have your geometric shapes, rectangles, as well as circles. If you are working with a basic landscape design, maybe this is a commercial property, maybe this is a basic foundation planting that you've been requested to design, it would not be unusual to use the rectangle tool and to simply left click and drag out a rectangle. Again, as I drag out that rectangle onto my page, the footage, the diameter, the measurements for this particular rectangle, the width as well as the height, are provided to me at the bottom of the screen. Similar to our line tool, we can use the property manager to select the fill. Right now there's no fill selected for this shape. We can change the line color as well as the pattern and the thickness for this line. If you wanted to mark your foundation lines with a different pattern or a different width line. And the very last tab allows for you to manually type in the length as well as the height for this particular shape. So if we wanted to change this to, 30 by, let's just change our second dimension by 60 to change the shape entirely, you'll see that it automatically adjusts on your screen for you. I know there are many of you that do create your designs just using a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, a standard letter size sheet of paper. So let's go over the functions and the steps of how to create a design or how to get that page set up if you are choosing a different page option outside of the 24 by 36 that's provided to you with choosing a template. To begin creating a design that's more on a custom sheet of paper, the 8.5 by 11, the legal, the tabloid sheet of paper, go to File, select New. When the new page opens up for you, it does give you the option to select letter. We can select legal or tabloid. Select legal. The page dimensions are listed 8.5 by 14. If we select tabloid, we have an 11 by 17 sheet of paper, and we can go back to the letter option. This is our standard 8.5 by 11 page size. If we continue moving left to right on this horizontal toolbar, we can change the orientation of this paper. So we can change from portrait to landscape, and that's just by selecting the different options on your horizontal toolbar. To change the scale on this custom sheet of paper, double-click on your ruler that runs across the top of your page. We double-click. We can select Edit Scale, and this is where you can make changes to the scale. We can make changes 1 to 10, or we can choose our architectural scale. So you do have both engineering and architectural scale available. To change the units that are being used on your custom sheet of paper, it's going to be the same process. We just simply click on Units, select Feet. If we wanted to go back in and change that scale, double-click on the ruler, click on Edit Scale. Again, this is where you can select 1 inch equals your 10 feet, or we can select another scale as needed. But you do have the options to use your line tool, so we can go back over to the left vertical toolbar. Using our line tools, 2-point, multi-point, B-spline, they're all available. We do have some tips that will allow for you to copy the title block, as well as if you want the border that appear on our template. You can go to the tips that are available on our forum, and they'll walk you through the steps of how to add the title block if you want to take that from our template, or you can create your own on this new page. Don't forget to save your design, and whether you choose a new from template page or if you choose just a blank page to work with, a new page to work with your custom sheet size, don't forget to save your design. We'll do save as, and the save as file is going to be the same as before. Save your designs as a Corel Designer file. This concludes our lesson today for the Site Plan Designer Basics. I know it was a bit of a whirlwind in terms of introducing how to open up a template, working with changing our units, adjusting the information that's available on the template, utilizing the line tools as well as the geometric tools that are available within the application. Also creating your custom page, creating your custom sheet size and scale. For more information about the EARTHSCAPES program, feel free to go to the EARTHSCAPES forum, and that is available at myearthscapes.com. And within the forum, we'll just click to enter the forum. Within the forum, we do have over 100 tips. We'll just go to Tip of the Week. And we have tips that are available. You can perform a search if you'd like to search for a particular topic. But there's a lot of tips here with step-by-step instructions as well as screenshots. So if you wanted to print these out, use them as an additional resource, that's great. Also, contact our office if you do have any questions as you are working, practicing, creating your designs. Give us a call if you run into any questions. Our telephone number is 330-259-7661. And you can always email the technical support team for further assistance. But I do thank everyone for joining us today. Our next training webinar does occur, it's scheduled for next Monday, and that's October the 24th, and our topic is adding textures to photo paint. So if you're looking to add a different type of mulch, gravel, different type of paver, this is a great session for those folks, and that's using the photo paint program to create your before and after photo designs. So again, thank you for attending today's session on the Site Plan Designer. We do look forward to working with you and really engaging you in some different functions and steps of the EARTHSCAPES software. I hope today's session was helpful. If you have further questions or suggestions for additional webinars, please send them over. We always appreciate those, and we do like to include them on the training schedule. So thanks again, everyone. Have a great day, and look forward to working with you next Monday. Bye-bye.